What I'm going to do here is show you how to draw up the project we're going to make. And what I've got is actually a drawing I've already made, and I've got a number of views which I'm going to talk you through. And up on the right hand corner here I have a sticker note with some relevant information about the sizes that we're going to use. First of all, I'm going to step through the different views I've got. I'm actually going to show you how to generate these views in the drawing once we're finished. So we've got an isometric view followed by a side view with some dimensions on it, a top view, and an end view, and this end view has actually been sectioned so you can see what it looks like on the inside, and finally an exploded view. I've actually also uploaded these pictures to the Google Sites or Google Classroom page for you to look at. So that's actually what we're going to draw. So we're going to start from scratch first, so I'm going to minimize this. Then here we have a blank screen. Now I'm using a style, and you can find styles under the window screen here, which is called, this one here, which is called shaded. Should say shaded there, it doesn't, but it's actually called shaded and textured. And again, you can see that information on the online version if you're using the online version. If you're using the Pro version, it's under Windows, Styles. Now we're going to start. So we've got the green axis, blue axis and red axis. First of all, we're going to start by drawing a rectangle. So we go with the rectangle tool. We can either click on that, but you'll notice it has a little R or R in brackets next to it. That means that's a shortcut for that tool. So if I hit the key R, it automatically changes to the rectangle tool. Go to the origin, which is always the best place to start. Click once and just drag. Now when you click your finger down on the trackpad, lift it back up again, and then you place it again and just drag it in the direction you want to draw it. Already I've noticed I've got a problem. Down the bottom main corner I notice I've got feet and inches being displayed. I'm going to have to change that, but I can still type in a measurement. So if I type in 240, millimeters, comma 14 millimeters, enter, it actually draws that in millimeters. That's because if you type in a measurement unit, it overrides what the standards are. So we've typed that in, you barely see it, but if I go Shift Z, it zooms in, I can see that. If I go P, pressing the P key, changes to the push-pull tool, click on that, it's highlighted blue, move it up and type in the number 93 millimeters, enter. We've got the beginnings of a side. Now before we go any further, I'm going to go in and change the units. I can do that under Windows, Model Info. And units, I'm going to change those from architectural to decimal, inches to millimeters, and precision of 0 millimeters. Now when I want this all displayed, I don't want to display the unit, so I'm going to click off display units, and that's it, close that down. Now Shift Z again to zoom out, and you'll see that I can just see the side here. The thing is, it's got square ends, and we want to have mitred ends. Also, it needs to have some grooves in it, which I haven't got in there, so I'm going to show you how to do all that. The first thing we do, however, is we're going to double click on this, 1, 2, 3, triple click, 1, 2, 3. Notice the whole object is highlighted, and then by pressing the Control key down and clicking one more time, this menu comes up. And what we're going to do is we're going to make this a component, which is that statement there, make component. This will come up and it gets you to define what that is going to be. We're going to call that the long side, and go create. Now as a component, it means I can select it simply once by clicking on it once. But if I want to change that component, I've got to actually open it in edit mode. And to open it in edit mode, you've got to double click it. So to change its shape or add things to it, I've got to edit it. But just to select it, just select once. So by selecting it once, I can move it around by using the move command. I can resize it, but I can't put holes in it, I can't cut things off it, I can't add things to it unless it's in edit mode. So we're going to edit this. So we're going to open it in edit mode, double click, and you'll notice it's got this dotted line around the outside which says I'm in edit mode. And what we're going to do is we're going to put some guidelines down the side here to position the top and bottom grooves. So the guideline tool is called T, or for tape measure. So hit T and we get the tape measure. I'm going to go to that top there, it says on edge, that's what that little red box means. I'm going to go down 6 millimeters, and then I'm going to come up from the bottom 6 millimeters, and I'm going to come in from the inside edge here 6 millimeters. So I've laid out a corner to start with to draw the rectangle. So I'm going to zoom in, and to zoom in, if you're using the Pro version, 2 fingers on the trackpad, slide up and you'll zoom in. If you use the online version, it's the opposite way, 2 fingers on the trackpad and sliding down. So I'm going to start from this corner over here. So I'm pressing R for rectangle tool. Oh, it's not lining up there. I have a feeling that, yeah, I think that guideline's in the wrong place. I'm going to have to move that, that's wrong. I'll do that again. T for tape measure on that area there, on the face, 6 mils down. Now I'm going to hit, yeah, see, intersection indicated by intersection cross. Click on that, drag to the edge, and then type in the numbers 6,6. Don't have to use millimeters anymore because I've already changed the units, and it draws a rectangle. Now, if I now change to the push-pull tool, highlight that little box there and push and touch this back corner here, that now pushes that groove all the way through. So I'm going to do the same for the bottom. So I'll just zoom out a bit and you see that goes all the way through. We're going to do the same down the bottom here. So zooming in, R for rectangle, click on the intersection up to the edge. This time the groove is only 4 millimeters high. So we're going to type in the number 4,6. And again, we're going to push it through. So I can't see the other edge there. No, there I can. And click. You can zoom in and out while you're actually executing different commands. That's fine. Right, so we've now got, hitting Shift Z, we've now got a side with the grooves cut for the top panel and the bottom piece of plywood. But it doesn't have the miters on the ends yet, and it doesn't have the little slots for the feathers to go in. So we're going to do that next. Now, in order to cut this off at 45 degrees, you could do this. Double click, using the tape measure tool, measure back the distance 14 millimeters, which is also the thickness. So we're going back 14. We've got 14 across, 14 back. The line between there would be 45 degrees. Draw a line in. Problem is, when we push that down, it only goes to that far and it stops. And this is a bit of a problem. So there is a better way of doing this. So I'm going to undo that, which is Command Z. And we're going to do a slightly different approach. So what we're going to do is we're going to draw an object over the top of this, which bisects a 45 degree line there and goes all the way through. So it's a solid object, and it's going to be used as a device to trim the edges. So just watch, and then I'll go back and I'll recap what I've done. So I'm going to use the line tool. Notice I haven't got this in edit mode because this object I'm going to draw now is a completely separate object. So L for line tool. I'm going to draw from that corner across to that corner, to that corner, to that corner. And now I have a little triangle in that corner there which represents the material I want to remove. I hit the push-pull tool, P for push-pull, and I pull that down. Now those two objects occupy the same space now. I can also go back up there and push this up a little bit, and you really need to do that. You need to have this object going beyond the other object. Otherwise this process won't work. I can also make it bigger this way. Selecting that surface there, I'm going to pull that out a little bit, and then I'm going to select this surface here, I'm going to pull that out a little bit, just to make the object slightly larger than the area that we want to remove. And that's important. You'll understand that when we go through this process and what we do with that. Now, as before, we're going to triple click on that, and we're going to control click and make that a group this time. Now, that is a group, that is a component. Both of these are solid objects. When we're using solid objects, we can actually modify solid objects using special modifying tools. And we need to bring one of those up. And we need to find that by going to View, Customize Toolbar, and we're looking for a solid tool which is called the Trim tool. So the Trim tool is that one there. So if we click on that and we drag and place it on the toolbar there and close that off, we can now use that to trim this with that object. So we hit Trim, we check that one as the first object, and that's the second object. Wait a minute, what happened? Nothing seemed to happen. However, if we now choose this object and delete it, you'll notice we now have a mitre. So undo, 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 undo. What did I do? So the first thing I did was I drew an object which is 45 degrees across from there and represent a solid object intersecting where I want to split this object. So I'll read that again. Line, click there, there, that corner. Notice these little coloured dots and squares. They're telling you that you've reached a point. End point of an intersection or a line or an object. They define where these objects are. They're called reference points. We've drawn the triangle. We're going to push it down right to the bottom. We're actually going to push it past the bottom and the top. So you notice that little tool that popped up there. It's called the Orbit tool. You get that by pressing O. I'm going to bring that down a bit. I'm now going to select that side. I'm going to pull that out a bit to make it bigger. I'll select that side and I'll pull that out and make it bigger as well. Again, O for orbit. It's bigger than the whole thing. So I'm now going to make it a solid object. So this next process will work. So triple click, make it a group, and then use the Trim tool and click on that one. It's now trimmed it. Delete, done. All you're going to do is now the other side. I'm going to pause there. I'm going to finish this video. You can go over that. When you're ready for the next step, we'll start the next video. Thank you.